On a stormy night when the rain fell so hard it felt like the sky itself was breaking, Maya stood by the window of her small but cozy apartment, staring at the empty streets below. She had just returned from another exhausting day at work, where rumors were spreading about a new CEO who would soon take over the company. People whispered that he was ruthless, a man with no time for weakness or emotions, the kind of leader who could make or break careers with a single decision. But tonight Maya wasn't thinking about company politics. She was simply grateful to have a roof over her head and a warm cup of tea in her hands. Just then a knock echoed through her door, sharp and urgent, like someone desperate for help. When she opened it, she found a man standing there, drenched to the bone, his eyes filled with exhaustion and determination. Beside him was a little girl, no older than 6, shivering in her soaked dress, clutching a worn-out stuffed rabbit. "I'm sorry to bother you," the man said in a voice that was both deep and weary. "We were caught in the storm and our car broke down a few streets away. I just need a safe place for my daughter tonight. Please, just one night." Maya hesitated for a moment. In a world where trust was fragile, letting strangers into your home was no small choice. But then she looked into the little girl's trembling eyes, full of fear and hope, and her heart melted. She stepped aside and whispered softly, "Come in." Inside, Maya quickly gave them towels and warm clothes, finding one of her old sweaters for the little girl. The child introduced herself as Lily, her small voice trembling but kind. Maya made soup, and for the first time in what seemed like ages, her apartment was filled with laughter as Lily smiled shyly while sipping from her bowl. The man, who introduced himself as Daniel, watched his daughter with a mix of relief and sorrow, as if life had tested them far too harshly already. Maya could sense the weight he carried, though he said little about himself. All she knew was that he was a single dad doing everything in his power to protect his child. That night, while Lily slept peacefully on Maya's couch, Daniel confessed quietly, staring at the flickering shadows on the wall. His wife had passed away 2 years ago, and since then, he had been both father and mother to his daughter. He traveled often for work, trying to build a future for her, but sometimes he felt like he was failing. "She deserves more than a tired father and borrowed kindness," he whispered, his voice breaking. Maya placed a gentle hand on his arm, her eyes soft with compassion. "You're giving her love," she said. "That's more than most children ever get." Daniel looked at her, almost surprised by the sincerity in her words. For a fleeting moment, the storm outside didn't matter, because inside that small apartment, warmth and understanding had found a home. The next morning, as the rain cleared, Daniel thanked Maya for her kindness. He promised her he would never forget what she had done for them. They parted ways, and though Maya felt a strange tug in her heart, she shook it off, convincing herself it was just a fleeting encounter. Life went on, and soon the office buzzed louder than ever, as the day finally arrived when the new CEO would step in. Everyone gathered in the conference hall, nervous and excited, when the doors opened and in walked Daniel, dressed in a sharp suit, his presence commanding. Maya froze in her seat, her heart racing. It was him, the man she had taken in, the father she had given shelter to. Whispers spread like wildfire, employees straightening in their seats, but Daniel's eyes immediately found Maya's across the room. For the briefest second, his stern expression softened, a secret smile tugging at his lips. He delivered his speech with authority, outlining big changes and challenges ahead, but every time his gaze flickered toward Maya, she felt her chest tighten. She couldn't believe it. She had spent the night comforting the very man who now held the power to change her future at work. Days turned into weeks, and Daniel proved to be a demanding but fair leader. He pushed the company to new heights, but unlike the rumors, he wasn't cold. He was deeply human, though only a few ever saw that side of him. Maya tried to keep her distance, afraid that people might misinterpret anything between them, but fate had other plans. Daniel often stopped by her desk, asking for her opinions, involving her in projects, and slowly drawing her into his world. It wasn't favoritism, it was respect. He valued the way she thought, the kindness she carried even in high-pressure situations. And yet, every time they were alone, their conversations carried a warmth that neither of them could ignore. But challenges soon tested them both. The company faced a major crisis when a competitor launched a product that threatened their biggest line. Employees panicked, morale dropped, and investors grew restless. Daniel bore the brunt of the storm, spending sleepless nights trying to find solutions. One evening, as he sat alone in his office, Maya knocked gently and walked in with coffee. She didn't offer advice or strategies. She simply reminded him of the night he had once been the one seeking shelter. "Storms don't last forever," she said softly. "You taught me that without even knowing it." Her words broke through his walls, and for the first time in weeks, Daniel allowed himself to exhale, the weight lifting just a little. As the months passed, the crisis was overcome with resilience and teamwork, and the company thrived again. Daniel never forgot the role Maya played, not just at work, but in his and Lily's life. He began inviting her to spend time with them outside the office. Slowly, she became part of their small family, helping Lily with homework, sharing dinners, and filling the quiet spaces of their lives with laughter. Maya, who once thought of herself as just another employee struggling to get by, suddenly found herself at the center of something far greater, a bond built on trust, kindness, and second chances. Still, there were whispers and doubts from others who judged their closeness. Some colleagues muttered behind closed doors, questioning her integrity, but Daniel stood firm, never allowing gossip to dictate his choices. He made it clear that Maya was not only valued but respected for who she was. And when Lily one evening hugged Maya tightly and whispered, "I wish you could stay with us forever," Maya's eyes filled with tears, realizing just how deeply she had come to care for them both. The story of a stormy night had blossomed into something beautiful. Daniel, the powerful CEO, was once a weary father seeking shelter, and Maya, the ordinary woman with an extraordinary heart, had become the answer to a prayer he hadn't dared to speak. Their journey wasn't without challenges, balancing love, work, and the judgments of others. But together they discovered that the strongest bonds are often forged in moments of vulnerability and kindness. By the time Daniel finally stood before her one evening, holding Lily's hand as they both looked at her with hope, Maya knew her life had changed forever. "We started with one night," Daniel said softly, his voice filled with gratitude. "But I don't want it to end there. I want every night, every storm, every tomorrow, with you." And as Maya knelt down to hug Lily, tears streaming down her cheeks, she realized that sometimes the most powerful stories are born not from wealth or power, but from a single act of compassion that changes everything. The message was clear and timeless. No matter who you are, kindness leaves a mark that can change lives forever.